then that ties in as well with as they seem to embody these traits and characteristics, the story always seems to unfold in their favor. And
Hmm.
you make the point of, they're usually up against a decision of save the girl or save the bus full of innocent people, or
Hmm.
it's always a one or the other, but somehow they're always able to pull it off where both are saved. And that's
Yes.
through taking an extremely unlikely and risky move, where it seems that something outside of themselves is aiding in that process. And that's what we were just discussing. And there's no way that could have happened. Like there, of course, that was written in so the character could succeed. And that may be true. That is true. But then you could also attribute that to your life. Well, have you noticed that when you are resonating and amplifying good behavior, that things have a tendency to kind of ease into place, and fall into place. And then it is only when, let's say, you do not get that affirmation of, okay, well, this didn't work out in my favor, so therefore being a good person isn't correct. So I'm going to start doing bad things and engage in poor behavior. And then all of a sudden things really don't work out for you. And you're like, see, that's exactly what I thought. See, nothing works in my favor. And it just kind of
Hmm.
perpetuates that cycle. But on the other end, like we were discussing, you engage in good behavior, things have a tendency to work in your favor. And that shows that there is kind of that overarching author to all that is. You're not necessarily thinking of the director making the movie or the author writing down the words, but just by reading the words or watching the movie, you get that, you are consistently seeing that confirmation that somebody created this material. And therefore simply just you don't see them, you know that they exist because you wouldn't be able to have that experience if they didn't exist.
Hmm. Right. Right. So um, the it's kind of funny because it works both ways. Like you can say, "Oh, that just happened because it's a movie that was just written in," and you can view that cynically, and oh, therefore that's not real. That wouldn't happen in real life. But my point in the essay is, it might actually happen in real life. Like you might actually have the author or the director write in some things that, you know, of course, God is a more perfect director, and so they tend to be more seamless. But the where was I going? The idea that you are like your story is not written in your favor. You know, again, we're back to we can't deny the fact that we have a story. So we're but it for whatever reason it seems to be um, like the more cynical side would say, well, it's more likely that my story is not written in my favor than it is. But I mean, in reality, I think if you're honest, it's incredibly unlikely that you would have a story and you have a story. So why is it more likely that your story would be not in your favor than in your favor? Um, so anyhow, the going through a character's story with this idea that well, if we just look at our stories the way they're told, like movies don't tell us anything. This is sort of, I quoted from Family Guy, where they sort of lampooned this when they did a spoof on the Star Wars series. And there was some big, I can't remember what it was, they were going to asteroid field or whatever. I think they were spoofing that moment. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so dangerous, we're going to die. And I think Peter says, look, we've got 4 or 5 of the main characters on this ship. I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine. So there's that idea of like the main character effect, like the main character is going to make it through. But I mean, that's literally in the Bible. That's what Paul says. He's like, I'm supposed to be in, like, I know 2 scenes down, I'm going to be in Rome. So I'm not going to die here because
Right. I'm
I'm
not going to die on the ship. Yeah.
right, right. So, I mean, so I don't know, that's part of the Bible. And I would say that, I think that is part of life. I think that you there's no reason to think that you're not the main character other than we kind of can't comprehend exactly what that means. When people think I am the main character and other people are not, other people are NPCs, that's a problem.
Hmm.
But the point is, God is infinite and he gives each person the attention and the possibility and the care that any director would give a main character in their story. So, in a sense, everybody's a main character. That doesn't make sense from our point of view because we watch movies with one main character. But in life, amidst the infinite of God and his never-ending story, each character has equal value from God's point of view. Let's put it that way. Um, and so then it's like, well, the story is written for me. Like I am a pivotal starring role in my own story. And like you said, when you accept the director's decisions and cooperate with his directions and follow his lead, then you start to see more and more um, his blessings. The good part of having the director on your side. Now, that's not to say, again, we go back to the idea of what kind of video game are we playing? What kind of movie are we watching? We're not watching Rob sits in a fluffy room and eats candy for 40 years, and nothing bad happens to him. His teeth don't fall out. We're watching the story of Earth. And like you're going to be put through difficulty. There's difficulty, there's challenge for sure. So it's not like everything just works out for you because you have the director on your side, but in the things that are difficult, you have the director on your side. And um, I think that's the view that we're supposed to take. And it does stand opposed to this idea of, well, someone else can be so powerful and so orchestrate things that they force you into, you know, basically what making a deal with the devil, right? Or abandoning your own virtues and principles in order to satisfy the little game that they've set up. Uh, and not most people don't have a supervillain coming up to them and twirling their mustache and be like, you have to choose. But we do go through life and we feel like our hands kind of being forced and we're doing things that we would rather not do, but we think it's necessary for this moment. And I think that would change if we looked at it more like a superhero looks at it and there's got to be some other way. There's got to be something I can do that escapes this supposed evil binary.